Well, howdy there, folks. My name is Dr. Riste Simnjanovski. If you can roll your R's, it's Riste. Most people can't, so they just say Riste, which is totally fine. I'm the author of Gilded, Age, Greed, and Golden Bitcoin. I've written a couple of articles for Bitcoin Magazine, and actually recently I've gotten a couple of email requests to have the articles read to them. Now, I don't know if they have screen readers or if it's a visual impairment issue or if they just want to hear me read the article for some reason. But I'm happy to oblige. So for the folks that requested this, I'm sure those, will probably get viewed 3 times. But if it's helpful to you, I appreciate that. So I'm happy to help. So I'm going to read you this article. I'll do my best not to screw it up. It is my words. And I'll probably, when I do screw up, I'll probably catch that it was grammatical, punctuation, comma splice, whatever issue. So I'll do my best to read this to you. So the subheader of this article: fiat is a gilded age currency, or gilded currency. Centralized protocols are gilded projects, and society is witnessing the proverbial paint chipping away. Bitcoin is golden is the subheader that the Bitcoin editors added to that. And if you need to get a hold of me for whatever reason, you can Google search me. My email is going to be up on the university website. You can directly message me there, or you can find me on Twitter. So I'm a tenured professor over at California Baptist University in Southern California, and I teach in public administration, government politics. So not that you care, let's get into the article. All right. So in 1873, Mark Twain and Charles Dudley Warner co-published the novel The Gilded Age, A Tale of Today. While the text doesn't receive the recognition it should, possibly as a result of the direct attack on American politics, it's a brilliant piece of literature that Bitcoiners may find amusing. In any event, I strongly encourage readers to take a peek at it. Correlation to what Americans face in the 21st century, specifically in politics, seems to overwhelmingly mirror history. In my opinion, the correlations to Bitcoin are easy to spot. One of my favorite quotes that Twain states, and it's not directly from this book, but he states, "Suppose you were an idiot, and suppose you were a member of Congress, but I repeat myself." Twain and the lesser-known Warner had a knack for satire in a way that was a bit offensive and vulgar at times, if not compelling and true to a fault. If Twain had a Twitter account, he'd have millions of followers, and perhaps my argument would be that he would also have an equal amount of vocal objectors. The deeply rooted corruption of American politics at every level is pervasive and systemic. All perspectives agree that corruption exists. Government officials pick winners and losers in business, and business returns the favor by financing their next elected official. The irony is that the actual era, for example, the post-Civil War America, is now literally defined as the Gilded Age. It's taken directly from Mark Twain and Warner's satirical book. So I think the two of them, if they were alive today, would kind of be laughing at the fact that we actually use those terms. Process of gilding is pretty straightforward. You take something that's little or no value, you apply color to it in order to create the illusion of wealth. One might imagine like a tin coin painted with a golden hue to resemble a gold coin. At the time, what was on the surface appeared to be a booming economic and industrial era for all Americans. Well, it was gilded. There were massive disparities between the wealthy and the poor, as well as a heavy focus on materialism in some circles. The wealthy financed their empires on the backs of the poor, as did local and national politicians. One might argue that not much has changed today. In that way of financing, wealth gaps grew and lavish lifestyles were thrown and thrust in the face of a starving working class. And those starving working classes, it bubbled over. What appeared golden on the surface was worthless underneath. How often have we witnessed politicians pass laws that eventually turned tax dollars into dividend payments for their own portfolios? Do not allow your business professors to preach that this era was the economic boom of a lifetime in America. These moments defined greed, slavery, and corruption. Regular Americans had little to no recourse. If Bitcoin were around during the Gilded Age, the government itself might have been considered a shitcoin. Most recently, the collapse of Luna is a reminder, and Luna 2.0 now, since that most recent one came out, is a reminder of the corruption and greed. As a result, and as always, Bitcoin is different, and the significance of this will only be more brightly illuminated when more centralized scam projects collapse in a cascade of carnage. Regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, if you're targeting the opposite side, you're not paying attention. Greed is apolitical. Between the years of 1870 to 1900, the world took notice that America was booming, for some. As a result, massive migration took place. Native Brits, Scots, and others braved horrific sea and land journeys in an attempt of securing an opportunity of new prosperity. Unfortunately, many of these talents were wasted, as immigrants mostly worked for massive corporations such as John D. Rockefeller's Standard Oil, Cornelius Vanderbilt's Railroads, and Andrew Carnegie's Carnegie Steel Company. In case you weren't aware, Carnegie Steel Company eventually became J.P. Morgan's U.S. steel monopoly, and then going on from there, those oil tycoons have deep roots in big pharma. So there's a reason that these medical field products have a petroleum base. I'm just saying, but I'm going to get back to Bitcoin. Perhaps Twain and Warner were onto something in their acknowledgement of the inequalities during this time period. The Gilded Age was, in many respects, political corruption masquerading as freedom and opportunity. Has anything changed, or have the veils and tactics simply been updated? There's a popular phrase in the Bitcoin community that states, "Fix the money, fix the world." What if Bitcoin existed at the time and any excess currency earned by laborers could have been stored, immune to political corruption, confiscation, inflation, or political party? Technologically, all that existed at the time was gold and silver, yet many of the poorest people of the nation couldn't even buy fractions of coins. In Bitcoin, buying fractions is possible. I would propose that fiat is a gilded currency, that centralized protocols are gilded projects, and that society is witnessing in real time the proverbial paint chipping away. The unhappiness society is facing isn't with one another as the media forces us to believe. The unhappiness is with the realization that what they've been sold and the currency needed to purchase it is all gilded. Many politicians themselves are gilded. If fiat personalities were a thing, they'd have followers on Twitter lusting over their golden hue. Yes, fiat currencies are important as a medium of exchange, but they are and always will continue forever to be a terrible store of value. The deflationary aspects of Bitcoin, specifically the fact that there will only be 21 million Bitcoin, that there every 4 years the reward for the mining of the coins is cut in half, only make the asset more pristine to people who do not own any Bitcoin, as they reflect on history and become exposed to Bitcoin. The economic crash that's been occurring throughout 2022 will only mint more Bitcoiners. Bitcoin fixes money with no gilding required. However, the question I've got for folks is, can Bitcoin also address an unfulfilled soul? And there's a link to an article here that I wrote that talks about that. By providing humanity an opportunity to seek their true purpose. My recent assumption is that a society is untrusting of a gilded reality. They may also question their own existence. In previous articles, and again, I've got a link here, and then a book that I've written, and I can talk about that later. I've addressed an unfulfilled soul. The question I've got is, how can fixing money help the soul or address the issue of a gilded world? I would propose that these concepts are not interdependent, but they may be interconnected. Yes, corrupt people with more resources will spread corruption, but what of good people? What if good people with good intentions, strong values, a solid moral compass had access to the same resources the robber barons did during the Gilded Age? What would the world look like? What about politics, business, industry, your family? I suggest that the quiet Bitcoin community, I call them QBCs, and they're the ones that aren't trending on Twitter, right? They're the ones swinging on their porch and hanging out with their kids and grandkids. They're going to forge a new route for the next generation as they turn their backs on centralized projects and they adopt Bitcoin. These newly minted Bitcoiners are not gilded. They're real, they're genuine, and they're genuinely disheartened with scam projects and centralized greed. Many in the crypto community, and I use air quotes and I'm using real quotes, are becoming Bitcoiners as they watch the paint chip away. So again, my name is Riste Simnjanovski. There's a little link at the bottom. If you Google search Bitcoin Magazine and you search Riste or Simnjanovski, if you can spell it, a bunch of my articles will come up. You'll see them here. So you see my big fat head right there. And then you'll see some of the articles that I've written. They're linked down here. And then in my bio, you can, if you want to. You don't have to. I'm actually surprised that people were purchasing and enjoying the book. But if you do want to take a look, you can see I've purchased it twice to give, author copies to like my dad and my kids. But you can take a look here. There's links and stuff, and you can listen to. There's an audio version of the book as well, so feel free to listen to it. But yeah, this is the book that I wrote. I don't care if anybody, whatever, if you like it or not, whatever. But it's a decent read. It's quick. It's only like 100 pages or so, and it's sort of coming from a different perspective than your typical or prototypical trader's book. It's coming from, I would say, it's coming from sort of a soulful perspective of a humanistic view of what Bitcoin could potentially be in folks' lives if they kind of turn their back on, the greed and the world as we sort of see it today. So I hope that was helpful for the folks that had requested this reading of the article, and if you want me to read other ones, just give me a heads up. So hopefully that was helpful. Yeah, thanks for the request.